I'm sure her mom be thrilled to hear about it, though. She's like, tell me, gush. Let me know about this man you're dating.
Meanwhile, Mr. Young is like pulling his hair out in the next room.
Like, be as explicit as you were in this chapter.
Welcome to the Story Tinker podcast, a place for in-depth analysis of stories, mainly from Webtoon. Co-hosted by sharp, witty, and, dare I say, thirsty fans, we dive deep in every episode, analyzing character struggles, relationship development, and, of course, theories. We also interview people working in creative industries. You can follow The Story Tinker on YouTube, podcast platforms, and social media. For bonus content, sneak peeks, and more, you can support The Story Tinker on Patreon. We're really appreciative of your likes, subscribes, follows, comments, and ratings on all platforms. Thanks for listening to The Story Tinker, and let's get started.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 161 of Let's Play. And today we're here with Goobs and Debbie.
Hello.
And I'd also like to say Happy Purim Sameach. That's why I am, well, dressed up in my Erdene wig. Wrong story, but right holiday, so hence the outfit.
I mean, you look glamorous. I was like, yes.
Not many people could pull it off, but you pull it, you do well.
I told my kids are like, what are you? And I'm like, I'm a grape.
Easier to explain.
All right, you want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay. So previously on Let's Play, so we got Sam's parents, so Mr. Young and Mrs. Young, and they're talking at the airport. Honey, I'm going to go use the restroom before our flight, and there go off Sam's mom, and Mr. Young is here pulling out his phone and noticing his quite stalkerish photos of his daughter and reminiscing the night that Charles spent. And of course, he's not happy about it, so he crushes his phone. So we continue. And here we are in the car scene. And Charles is glancing over at Sam, and she's quite happy, typing away. And there she goes on her phone. And he turns off a little concerned, or at least a little jealous, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, especially because you see the chains behind him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's his possessive side.
Yeah. There's a lot of insecurity on his end. And
yeah, where he's like, who could you be texting? Is it a guy? Should I be?
Yes.
But once again, we do have to note at least that he isn't like asking her who you texting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, he's holding back. And I think that's what the chains are doing. They're like, oh, my control. I'm gonna try not to be super possessive over her, but you could tell it's there. And right here, I mean, he asks her, how are you feeling this morning, Samara? Are you sore like you were yesterday? Oh, no, not really. I mean, I feel a little worn out and my body feels kind of heavy, but I think it's just because my muscles are tired from the workout.
So this is referring to remember last episode, she was like, oh, I feel heavy, and we saw chains. Mm-hmm. So, you guys weren't on that episode. So what did you think of that? Like her body feeling heavy?
I think that he wasn't recognizing her limits a bit. He was going a little bit, he was so into her. No pun intended. But he was excited, again, no pun intended, he literally wore her out, and those chains represent him being too much for her and just him kind of latching on to her. I think he's got that sense of control. I feel like I'm not explaining this well, but I feel like the physical wearing out that she feels symbolically, those chains are just him being overwhelming for her. Mm-hmm. It's just too much at this point. I'm concerned.
Yeah,
Charles, but I'm concerned. I'll be honest.
I agree with you there. I kind of wanted to look at it like in Vicky's point of view, because yes, physically she is dealing with a lot of different changes when it comes to her sexual relationship with him. But when it comes to like, when I remember Vicky, when she just shook his hand, she could just feel all this like emotional trauma and like it was, I mean, remember when he saw those little emote-coons. I don't remember how they call them, but they're literally chained up, and she felt weak for days until she was able to get recovered from it. And I feel like Sam is kind of getting another point of view of that, where he's literally, overwhelming her, but also like emotionally, I don't think he's putting like weight on her shoulders unknowingly. I don't think he means to, but she's feeling it.
I agree.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I know a lot of people are like very touchy about Charles in either direction. Some people are like, toxic, red flag, stay away, don't ever get sucked into this because they're, concerned, rightfully so. And then other people are like, well, you have to understand Charles has been through a lot of trauma and, you have to give him a chance and he's not doing anything yet. So I think Mangzi does a great job of like treading that line and showing us that he has these reactions, but he's not acting on them as of now. And, we're all human beings, we're all flawed. And the question is, what do we do with our flaws? Like, do we work on them? So I'm really, really curious to see how Charles will handle these feelings that are coming up for him.
Yeah. Okay.
I think so too. I think he wants to open up. He wants to love again, but he doesn't know how to. And it's too heavy for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that Sam's the right person for him at this point. He needs a lot more.
I think he needs therapy.
Therapy, yes, probably.
His experience, like most relationships with people, has been primarily sexual, and this is something where he's garnering feelings again. He hasn't felt that since his ex-wife, and it's gonna be an experience for him at this point because it's a new first for him. I am concerned as well because I'm like, I want to have some like, positive, optimistic outlook on him. I want to hope that, he won't show possessiveness and that, he will respect Sam. But I mean, we can also look at another side too. There's two possibilities here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I keep reading, right?
Yeah, he's a rich character. There's a lot to say.
Yeah, he's very well written. I like that he's got a lot of complexities, which is something I do like looking into. Okay, this is her still talking. Okay, this is Sam. But I don't feel nearly as sore down there today as I did yesterday, so that's good.
Charles has that smile. Is it like self-satisfactory smile?
He's like, yeah, I did it.
Either that or he thinks it's funny that Sam can't be explicit and just has to say like down there.
It's just she's just so out there with it. Just like,
yeah. And then
there she goes. Honest, by the way, I have to say, like, I don't remember how my husband and I talked about our sexual relationship when we first got married, but I'm pretty sure that I wasn't so comfortable at first talking about how I felt. I probably was like too shy. So I'm very impressed that Sam feels comfortable enough to tell him how she's feeling about something so intimate.
Yeah. I think it's the same thing with like what she says a little bit later after this too. She's so open about it because I'm not that open about my sexual relationships. So I mean, go Sam.
But I have to say, she's almost like a little bit clinical about it. It's almost like a little bit removed, not just that lack of shyness, which you would expect from somebody in her position. So I don't know, but
I think that Sam's personality. I think that it also is surprising at first, but I do think that she has that kind of like clinical is the great word for it, and not to be like give a stereotypes, but she's like a computer programmer, right? Yeah. Like they can be a little blunt, right?
So. Straight to the point. There we go.
Yep.
Oh gosh, how do I say this? I think my body is starting to get used to you. Gosh, I feel really embarrassed saying that out loud. Maybe I should have worded that better. It's out there now, I guess. And his face right there, he's like, excuse me.
Wait, yeah, I'm trying to figure out what that face is. Like embarrassed? Is he overwhelmed?
Yeah. Or maybe he's like us right now. We're like, man, I can't believe she said that.
I think also the fact that like she's saying, I'm starting to get used to you kind of implies like, okay, this is going to be a thing. We're going to be a long-term thing. So maybe that's also something that he's like, oh, okay, like we're going to be together for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're both red.
Oh, I'm more worried on whether or not I can keep up with your energy level. I mean, you've got a lot more endurance than me. And just as soon as I thought you were done, you were ready to go again.
Okay, that's a lot of information, Sam.
Yeah.
And again, very blunt out there.
Just telling the readers. She's just like, I gotta tell the readers explicitly what happened.
Hey, Maggie's not showing us, but
Yeah.
Sam is telling us.
That's true too.
Yeah. All right. And then I wondered if I wasn't able to fully satisfy you, but I guess if you weren't happy, you wouldn't have kept coming back for more. I mean, who goes back for seconds, thirds, and fourths of a meal they don't like?
Now we know exactly how many times you did it. Thank you.
And Charles, oh gosh. Right, Red.
For all his experience, he's the one blushing and being all shy.
Look how satisfied he is with himself. Like, yeah, I know.
By the way, I have to say, I think that is the behavior of a man for whom sex was not satisfying before. Like, he had sex until fairly recently before this. So, like, I don't know why it, like, if it was just any other person, I don't think it would have gone back 4 times. But the fact that it's with Sam is different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He really thrives on that emotional connection, I think, here. I mean, I think Mongie said in an interview, she was like, Charles is pretty vanilla. And I'm like, okay, that's a little out there because he's, you know, he's known for being like entertaining women.
Yeah, I would never have said that about him, but it's true. But about the emotional connection, he didn't stay with any of the other women. They were like, okay, that's it. You're done. We're done. Good night. He stayed and he went to her. She didn't, they all went to him, but he went to her. So there's definitely a different connection there.
Yeah, I'm one of those like it's a large part because of how I was raised, but I'm like, and obviously I only had one sexual relation with my life with my current husband, but you know, I think that it makes more sense that when you're with someone that you like, you know, at an emotional level and that you have a relationship with, it's just different than sex with a stranger.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you go back for second, third, fourth.
Yeah. Thank you, Sam.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I guess I'll continue from here.
Yeah.
Regardless, if I look at things from an analytical standpoint, which like you said, Debbie, she is indeed doing that, and consider your enthusiasm, the sounds you were making last night, I think it's safe to conclude that you were enjoying yourself too. She really is. She's like, how, you know, let me logic. How do I know if he was enjoying himself? Ah, he was making sounds. He must have liked it.
His face throughout all of this is hilarious. It's so funny to see him this flustered. He's just like, oh my gosh.
It's like, how do I respond to this?
Exactly.
Yeah, he's used to being the one like taking the lead, and now she's catching him off guard. So he finally responds after all that, and he's like, a fine and accurate thesis, Samara. I'm glad you were able to come to that conclusion on your own, which is good, right? That he's like encouraging her, you know, validating what she said, that acknowledging it's correct. And at the same time, he is brushing her thigh and she jumps and he says, speaking of meals, would you like to join me for dinner tonight? He's like, not enough. I totally remember, I met my husband and we fell in love. It was like, she had to just like be with each other all the time. Like, you know, now like I went to Europe for 2 months. I'm like, bye, see you in 2 months. And now back then it was like every second had to be together.
Oh no. That's so sweet though.
And she says, I'd like to, but this is Friday and well, it's raid night with my friends. And that's who I've been chatting with. We've got a member who's still grounded and can't play. We're trying to figure out what to do about it. That's Dallas, right?
Yes, it's Dallas. I was like, wait, who's grounded? I thought they were all grown-ups. And I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I was trying to figure that out too, right?
Yeah. I did want to mention, because earlier we were saying like how she's so open, and that's kind of like, oh, how's she so out there? And, you know, she's comfortable with him because now she's actually really comfortable talking about her raids, with her friends. Because before she was like, I wasn't going on no raid. I don't play video games, even though you played one that I made.
Yeah, that's definitely great that she's, not hiding it anymore.
Mhm.
So good stuff. And then she's like, sorry, maybe we could do lunch tomorrow. And I was watching this very closely because we know there's this whole thing, like, is Charles Dion? Is Dion Marshall? Who's Dion, right? So I was like, okay, well, let's see if we can, extrapolate anything from this. So he looks away and he looks a little sad, maybe, that she's not going to hang out with him. I don't know. I was trying to figure out if it was like, is he going to say something about video gaming? Like, is that what he's not saying? I don't know. I would like to give an honorable mention to Sabra, who I'm sure has interpreted every look of his in support of her theory that he is Dion. So I'll try to bring in her, channel her. And then he says, I'll be busy this weekend, I'm afraid, all weekend. Okay, well, what's he busy doing?
Oh, okay.
I think we're going to see it. I kind of suspect that Monda's going to show us what he's doing this weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I can't shy away that, yeah, he looks disappointed. It's kind of a bit of a nudge, though. He's like, yeah, I'm going to be busy all weekend, and I don't know if that was like his kind of way of like, I'm kind of disappointed, just to let you know.
Oh,
like, is he really busy, or is he just fine? You're not gonna, if you're busy tonight, I'm not going to be available all weekend, and kind of little passive aggressiveness there.
That would be so petty if he was doing it. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, that would be terrible. I hope not. I hope he actually is busy, because otherwise that doesn't go well for his maturity level.
That would be like, no, Charles, no, bad. That's bad, Charles.
Yeah, it's hard to tell because we can't hear like his tone and voice here. We're just going based off their like reactions, and here we don't see his face when he says that. So like, I'm not exactly sure, but I don't know. She's like, oh, okay, so.
Yeah, so she's like, oh, maybe next week then. And she says that should be fine. And he looks back to normal. Like, great, we could do lunch or dinner. And then she goes back to the phone. It's dinging. And she's like, oh, sorry, I need to respond to this. I have a friend who might be able to fill in for our grounded guildmate. I just need to confirm some things. Okay, she's for sure talking to Dion and asking him if he can, or Dion. I'm not gonna assume anything. But Dion, if they can fill in for Dallas. And in which case he's looking again. He's sweating, and then he slides his fingers in her thigh. So if I'm going to be Sabra, I'm going to say he's trying to like distract her, or like, I don't know, prevent her from waiting for a reply right away. If I'm being me, I think he's just he just wants her attention.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was my first thought. It was like, he can't stand the fact that he wants her, is all over him, he wants to be with her, and she's just like, no, I'm cool, I'm doing my thing, which I love.
It's kind of like, worry about your guildmates later,
Right. Like, exactly. I'm here, they're there, just pay attention to me.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, I mean, it's very normal to do these, to like touch your spouse when they're in the middle of doing something else. I think a lot of spouses find that funny. I know mine does it all the time. So like, if it wasn't Charles, I wouldn't be concerned, but like, it could be like that. It's like, yeah, pay attention only to me. And if it's that aspect, that's like not so great.
And I'm one of those, I happen to like Charles. I do. I know a lot of people are like, no, he's toxic. Like you said, he's nothing but toxic for her, but I do like him. I don't think he's intentionally being selfish and toxic. He just needs help, but I think he's being a little, I don't know.
Like at this point, from if we didn't see all his emotional trauma in the background, we just saw face value. He hasn't done anything wrong yet, it's just some tendencies. You're like, oh, he's a little jealous. He hasn't done anything where it's like, okay, you got to leave him, Sam, like leave now.
Yeah.
Because if I was her friend, I'd be like, you need to leave him because he obviously wasn't like letting you hang out with us the other day. Like those are really bad signs. But at the moment, he's just kind of like a little jealous, And so right now I'm like, okay, I'll level out the playing field. We'll analyze this sooner.
Yes.
But to be fair, it could be it's a new relationship and he really wants to spend time with her and he misses her and he likes her.
Mhm.
And if we didn't know about his background and the chains, we wouldn't be so
Right, exactly.
red flag, red flag, red flag.
Yeah. And she jumped, she's like, hey, that tickles. And he has another smirk on his face. He's happy he did that. Yeah, and so now we are at the building, work building. They're walking in the lobby, and Sam says Marshall said his friend might have family in engineer. They're trying to see if they can get us an audience with them. And Charles says, excellent, let's hope they are successful. And Sam's like, oh, look who's back. And she's excited. Charles looks nervous. And who is it? She's like, I suppose mom was then in Hawaii, or dad just came back early. We see a group of people. We see Mr. and Mrs. Young. And she waves. And she's like, hi, Dad, welcome back. And he lifts his head, Mr. Young, and he's like, And then he's like, oh, morning, pumpkin. And he's so excited. And he's like, super sweet. And then Debbie, I'll let you take over.
Okay, and then Charles says, welcome back, Mr. Young. I'm happy to see you return safely from your trip. And Sam is nodding and agreeing. And Mr. Young clenches his fist and says, Jones. And Sam, and he's ready to run. He's like a bull. And Sam says, Dad? And you can see Mr. Young's getting ready to charge Charles, sorry, and he's dashing and he's on his way. And in the next panel, his eyes are red and he's growling, Jones. And Charles is, I see, this is how I die. Both Sam,
He's not even like, he's just deadpan. I feel like that look is like skeptical and like mocking of Mr. Young.
like, I've accepted my fate.
Yeah.
Let me just stay
I'm going
here
to die
and
now.
get decimated.
Like, this is
Sam's
it.
freaking out. I was like, what?
It's like, how could you say that? You're not going to die.
And Sam freaks out and looks up at Charles with concern on her face, and she turns to her father and looks very determined and stomps in front of Charles and yay! She's gonna be her mother. And it makes her father.
Sam is like, she can't stand up for herself, but she can stand up for her friends.
Oh wait,
yeah, she did it with a customer. She who else did she do it for? She did it for Lucy, and now she's doing it with her father. Like, she can't tell her father no for whatever she wants, but she can do it for him.
right. And she's standing up to her father for Charles, which might even be a first. So she stands up in front of Charles and has her arms by her side at her hips and defying her father, ready to fire. And then the next thing you see coming in between them is a high-heeled shoe. And who's attached to that shoe? But Mom sliding in for the win.
Yeah.
Hey!
She's awesome. I love Mongi's like exaggerated movements, you know, like last week where Marshall like picked her up, so, you know, and swung her around. Here she's sliding in like a baseball player. Like, obviously she's probably not actually doing that like that, but
Probably.
it's just it's great. The exaggeration and the hyperbole is so fun.
Yes, absolutely.
Also, I just realized like Mr. Young was totally surprised when Sam stopped in front of Charles. I feel like he's not used to seeing that side of Sam.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and even Charles' look on his face was, wow, what are you doing? You're standing in front of me, you're defending me to your dad. You're protecting me.
Oh my gosh.
Then the two women in his life, Sam and her mom, stops Mr. Young and he slides to a halt on his face. To a screeching halt.
So funny.
And no dialogue. You just see Sam and Charles looking shocked, and Sam's mom standing up and brushing herself off and says, "Shoo!" And that was a close one. And the last panel is Sam saying "Mom," and her mom saying "Morning, sweetheart." Aww, very sweetly.
Oh,
nice to see her mom there. Like,
that was great. That was great.
Young is awesome.
The voice of reason.
Knows what's going on. Like, so even back at Hawaii, somehow she was like, "Oh, I hope Sam's okay." You know, she kind of like had this intuition. But here, like, regardless of whether she understands that Sam was with Charles, she's like, my husband is acting like a crazy person. I have to stop him. I don't know what his reason is, but it's probably not valid.
She seems.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Yeah. I was going to say her mom seems to be the only person that actually recognizes Sam's an adult, and as much as like she said in Hawaii, they've got to let her go, they've got to let her grow up, and even though she's worried about her, she's letting her make her own mistakes, which recognizes her husband's absolutely out of his mind and overprotective.
Yeah, she's just as confident in Sam as like Monica is. I think how she's just someone that really sees her as an adult, and I love that. She also is always trying to like keep her confidence up. Like gives her really cute clothes, and that's the thing. I think Sam is wearing one of the outfits that she gave her in an old chapter.
Maybe
I think so. Yeah, and she had this one outfit I think she felt like a child in a while back, and I think it was one that her mom gave her. But yeah, like her mom is just so confident in her, and she knows that she's an adult, she can make her own decisions, and obviously she knows that both her husband and her son, baby Sam. Yeah, but she's awesome, and I'm really excited to see like them actually like talk with each other. I've never really seen them in the series yet really have scenes together as like current.
Yeah,
I don't think that they have. I think they've a couple of times you've seen them interact, but not too often.
Probably next episode we'll see them a little bit.
Yeah.
I hope Sam will talk to her mom about it, because like, I mean, it really depends on like what your relationship is like with your mother, but a lot of daughters talk to their moms about like their love life,
I'm sure her mom be thrilled to hear about it though. She's like, tell me, gush, let me know about this man you're dating.
Meanwhile, Mr. Young is like pulling his hair out in the next room.
Like, be as explicit as you were in this chapter.
Oh my god. Not in front of the dad.
I don't know what he would do. Would he just jump out of the building at that point? Like, nope, not today.
I think he would spontaneously combust. He would burst into flame. He would just...
Oh gosh. I can't handle that kind of attitude.
I know you were saying before we recorded that you were just so happy that they were finally like standing up to him, finally giving him what he needs right now. Because yeah, he is kind of overbearing, like for Sam.
Very.
Yeah.
To a comedic extent, obviously it's like I think fluffed up for comedy, but yeah, it's another thing that is in Let's Play where it's a trait that you can understand where it's coming from, but still acknowledge that it's bad and the person needs to fix it. Which is great. I mean, I don't think I have any overprotective people. My parents are certainly not like that, but yeah, everyone has something. Did you guys have overprotective parents?
Oh gosh. As a Hispanic woman, we would often not be allowed to go to sleepovers and stuff like that because that was something that I think a lot of Hispanic people relate to. It's like you can't go to other people's sleepovers unless it's like family or something. And even then, you're like, no, you can't because there's men there. There's this and that. And so yeah, they're pretty overbearing. Yeah, and they get lenient as you grow up, but even then, yeah.
Sorry.
It's fine. I survived. I'm married, so we're good.
They let you be on this podcast.
Yeah.
Talk about all this.
Do you guys want to do a bonus question on what you think the future of Sam and Charles's relationship is?
Sure. It'll be fun.
Okay.
Thank you so much to my current patrons, Susie, Lady Libras, Lily, Jenny, Haley, Molly, Veronica, Emily, Joe, Rochelle, Saucy Puggles, Meg, Anne Rose, Priya, Alexa, Misty, Joanne, Hattie, Imelda, Esther, I'm watching you people, Taurus, Papacy, Marie, Emily, Jane, Jen, Erin, Kay, Lily, Beckett, Miranda, Christine, Sadie, Kelly, Danielle, Teresa, Mrs. Castaldo, and Kaylee. Your support is truly appreciated.